Well, good evening, everybody. My name is John Ball, professor here at SDSU in the frozen north. Hope everybody else is doing well in this weather, home safely. What I'm going to do now is kick in my PowerPoint. If I can get it rolling here. Come on, let's see if we can get it going here again. There we go. There we go. Well, do not know where the other people are that were supposed to be on tonight. So what I'm going to do is chat with you about the subject that I had for tonight, which was Christmas tree selection and care. And that's a pretty timely thing to be talking about for everyone on here tonight that wants to have a real Christmas tree as opposed to an artificial one. And I like this picture. The weather was much nicer that day, but this is us harvesting the Capitol Christmas tree. The Capitol Christmas tree came up by Florence. It was about a 48-foot tall tree, about 20 inches in diameter. We had to shrink it just a little bit to make sure everything fit. But I'll tell you, it's one of the prettiest Christmas trees we've had in years. So I hope everyone gets to go to the Christmas at the Capitol and take a look at this beautiful specimen. I know it's hard for me to say beautiful and blue spruce in the same sentence. It's not one of my favorite trees because of all the disease problems, but this tree was just about perfect. And you couldn't have asked for a better day. I think it was about 50 degrees when we went out and harvested this on a Monday morning several weeks ago. But the rest of you may be going out and getting Christmas trees. In fact, if we have 4 weeks between Thanksgiving and Christmas, then Black Friday is actually Green Friday. That is the biggest sales day for Christmas trees. In fact, there's a lot of small Christmas tree sellers that will sell out probably by sometime Sunday. If it's 5 weeks, people tend to wait a little bit. But boy, if it's only 4 weeks between Thanksgiving and Christmas, that's just one more chore people do on that Friday. So if you're going to go out and get a Christmas tree, Friday's probably when you're going to do it, and you're going to endure quite the crowds. But you know what? It's what you got to do to pick out the nicest tree you can and kind of continue that tradition. By the way, I often get asked, well, what's more environmentally friendly? Well, it's not as clean cut as it might sound. If you look at an artificial tree versus a real Christmas tree, the artificial kind of wins in popularity. There's probably 3 or 4 artificial trees for every one real tree out there. And yes, indeed, with the artificial tree, you can use it over and over and over again. Where the real Christmas tree, you're getting one every year, obviously. You can't really retain them that long. Obviously, with the real tree, we're not shipping it in from overseas. We're not utilizing a lot of petroleum, oil to build the thing. But nevertheless, there are some advantages to them. And at least the numbers that I've looked at is if you can keep an artificial Christmas tree for 10, 15, 20 years, that was probably a good choice. But if you're one of these folks that kind of turns them in every 5 years or so, it's not a very good choice. They're going to landfill those. Where with a real Christmas tree, it can literally have a second life after Christmas, either as a artificial reef. A lot of communities sink these into the ice during the winter. They can also end up being mulch and that. So there is a second and valuable life for this tree, and it's farming, just like other aspects of agriculture. Well, let's take a look at how we care for those trees and how we select those trees. First, make sure you're getting a fresh tree. It's kind of like fish, milk, everything else. You want a fresh one. And how do you check that? Well, you shake it. The needle should not fall off. Take the tree, don't abuse it, but kind of hold it and stomp it down a couple of times. Needles should not be falling off of it. The other is run your fingers through the shoot. And if the needles are coming off as you're kind of pulling, like I'm showing here, that's not a good tree. They should just spring right back. And it's important to check, depending on where you go to buy your Christmas tree, that tree may have been harvested as long ago as late October. Generally, that's not going to be that long. It's probably sometime in November. But I can remember when I was in the business of this, some trees were cut in October that ended up at our sales lot in November, and they don't last quite as long. Obviously, the freshest tree you can get is go to one of the many choose and cut Christmas tree farms that dot the landscape in eastern South Dakota, western Minnesota, and northern Nebraska, and go out and harvest your own. And that's a family tradition for many people as well. But if you go out to a Christmas tree lot and you're shaking that tree and that's what you have below you, that's going to become a Charlie Brown Christmas tree. You might want to pass on that. All right. So you find a fresh tree. Well, you want to keep it fresh at home too. And so here's some tips. When you get it home to set it up, and if you're not setting it up right away, make sure you put it in the shade. Put it, on the north side of the building or that for a little bit before you bring it in the house. And before you set it up, recut the base. You want to cut it about an inch higher. Reason being is all those pores that pull up water are now filled with sap after the tree was cut. And you've got to reopen those and cut it about an inch high. You do not need to cut it in an angle. That does not help. And please don't drill holes in it. We get people saying, well, I'm going to drill holes so more water comes in. Actually, that does not help and makes things worse. Just a nice flat cut at the bottom. All right. Well, now you got to put it in your tree stand too. You better get a big tree stand. That tree might absorb a gallon of water the first day. One of the mistakes a lot of people make is they get just a very small tree stand and maybe it'll hold a quart. Well, once that tree dries out, the only way it's going to absorb water is if you take it out, recut the base, and you're probably not going to do that. So once you get it up, you cut the base, you put it up immediately, you fill that with about a gallon of water, and it never should go dry during the entire holiday season. Now, the first day it might take up a gallon, and after that, maybe a half a gallon, and after that, maybe only a quarter day. And then after Christmas, you'll notice it's barely taking up any because those pores are filling up again. But let's start it out right. And a couple of things. Add hot water for the first time. Yeah, doesn't have to be boiling, just hot water. And if you add hot water, that'll help open up those pores as well. And that will absorb more water. And by the way, clean this out before you set it up. If you're pulling a dusty old tree stand out and setting it up and it's not cleaned out, it's just a bacterial goo in it. And guess what? That's going to start plugging up the pores too. So if you haven't done it, take a little bleach, a little cleaner, and make sure you scrub out that Christmas tree stand so it's nice and clean before you start. Recut the base of the tree, set it up, add hot water, not boiling water, and then keep it full and don't add anything else to it. People say, well, I need to add floral preservative. No, it's not a flower. Commercial tree preservative. No, it's not needed. Molasses, sugar, bleach. For some reason, 7-Up is a common thing that people mention. Aspirin, honey, vodka. No, please. It's not going to help the tree, and it's not good for your dog if it's lapping up anything under that tree stand too. So just good, clean water is all you need to get that thing started. All right, so what tree are you going to buy? Well, if you go around to the Christmas tree lots, and I've been looking at them in the last week, of course, if you just go out and pick up a tree blindfolded, it's probably going to be a Fraser fir. They're the ones you find on every kind of Christmas tree stand, from garden centers to the box stores. And you know what? It's an excellent choice for a tree. It has very good fragrance. I mean, you want a tree that smells nice in your house. Stiffness is only fair. What that means is the branches bend a little too much. And one problem with that is if you got heavy ornaments. If you don't, it's not a problem at all. but needle retention is excellent. I remember when these trees started to get popular sometime in the mid 80s. And what people really liked about them is you could set these up at Thanksgiving, almost take them down at Easter, and they still had needles attached to them. Now, I wouldn't go that far or that long, but this is a tree that you can set it up at Thanksgiving. And when you take it down, typically, right after New Year's, it'll still have most of its needles and look pretty good. So this is one of our best trees, and it's most popular tree, and it's probably the one that's most available. So you're not going to go wrong with this tree at all. Um, the needles are flat. They're dark green on the top, but a real nice, almost a white on the bottom. They're pretty as could be. So if you're looking for a tree, Fraser fir is an excellent choice. Now, pines are the traditional. And back in the 80s, it was all Scots pines. Everybody put a Scotch pine up there. Scotch pine has good fragrance, excellent stiffness. I mean, that will hold ornaments if you're really looking for something to put those big old ornaments on. And the needle retention was very good as well, actually excellent. And it's still a common choice, but they're not as popular. In fact, I've gone to a lot of the garden center Christmas tree lots, and I can't even find a Scotch pine anymore. What they're being replaced with is white pine. And so that's probably the second most common tree I see at Christmas tree lots so far this year. Excellent fragrance. Boy, do they smell nice. Uh, Good stiffness. They bend pretty easy. So you got to be a little careful on that with heavy ornaments, but excellent retention. So, you know, it really doesn't matter whether you go with a Fraser fir or a white pine, two of the most common trees I see at Christmas tree lots. They're both great trees. The shorter needles to the Fraser fir, a lot of people like, but I will say the fragrance of a white pine is just nice in itself as well. And so it's a nice little tree. The Scotch pine, if you do see them, find them, they have two needles to a cluster, and they're kind of bluish green, about 1 to 4 inches long, where the white pine is about 3 to 5. So the needle's length is a little bit longer. The needles are softer, and they come in groupings of 5. So a little bit more wispy. If you run into it, it's kind of a nice soft feel to it. And that, well, there's a few more possibilities. Spruce. Spruce are not the most popular. They're out there. But I will tell you this, if you're going to get a spruce tree, probably you're going to harvest it yourself. And that's a good thing. Spruce, notice the needle retention. It's fair to good. This is not a tree that you want to cut and put up now, to be honest with you. If you say, I really want to put a spruce tree up, what I'd do is I'd wait another week or so. If you got 3 weeks or 2 weeks to Christmas, it will hold them, particularly if you harvested the tree yourself. That's about as fresh as you're going to get. For those of you who live out in the Black Hills, of course, you can get a Christmas tree permit. Forest Service is back in business, and you can go out and cut your own, and you can't get a fresher tree than that. And of course, these are available at the Choose and Cuts as well. But, people like them because, boy, will they hold ornaments. I mean, they're excellent for that. Very stiff. Fragrance is okay. And to be quite honest, with a white spruce, also known as Black Hill spruce, sometimes they have kind of a musty odor, almost a little mildewish. Now, that's just sometimes. But nobody buys a spruce for the fragrance. Okay, it's either not much to it or slightly musty. Um, the white spruce, the Black Hill spruce, fairly short needles, kind of a white to maybe a bluish green. Needles are a little on the soft side, not like a Fraser fir, certainly not like a pine, but pretty good. But if you're really looking for something with stiff needles, you're going to go with a Colorado spruce. And there's only, honestly, one group of people that should put up a blue spruce, and that's people that own cats. If you got a cat that wants to climb your tree, and cats tend to like to do that, get a blue spruce. Okay. it's not climbable. I'll bet one of you has a cat that'll figure out how to. But nevertheless, it's almost like a porcupine. They're stiff, they're sharp. Now, keep in mind, needle retention's not very good on these. So after Christmas, it's going to be dropping needles, and the needles are sharp. And so if you're walking around with socks early on a morning, while you're holding your cup of coffee and a couple of these get in your socks, that's not a good experience. But again, it's our best cat-proof tree. So blue spruce kind of has a special spot for people. And again, the color's pretty nice as well. So people tend to like that. Well, that's a little bit on all the Christmas trees that are out there and that are available. Um, I don't see anybody else that has come into this at all. So it may be one of the shortest sessions that we do here for a long time. But I don't know if anyone has any questions on anything tonight. We actually have a pretty good turnout of people. There were supposed to be two other people, but you know the storm we're having right now in Brookings may have kept them from getting on here tonight. So if there's any questions on anything, and I don't see anything in our chat box or that, or a question and answer. So if there isn't anything, maybe we'll call it an early night. Okay. So thank you for joining me this evening. Thanks for going through the presentation. Hopefully you got some ideas of the Christmas trees. I can't tell you anything else you need to do with your woody plants. You don't need to water them right now. We're done. Soil temperatures are getting cold enough that they're not going to absorb water. You don't really do much pruning at this time of year. So between now and about March for woody plants, other than making sure you got good rabbit protection on them, get those tubes around the lower trunks, because the bunnies, there's a lot of them out there. You may want to do that. And otherwise, everybody have a great Thanksgiving. Go out and get that tree, and maybe we'll see you again before Christmas. All right. So good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.